Today we're going to go through the past simple tense. So, when do we use the past simple tense? We use the past simple tense or the past simple to talk about actions or events that happened at a specific time in the past and are already finished. Here are some examples. I visited the zoo yesterday. They went to the cinema last weekend. She finished her homework an hour ago. We can also use the past simple when describing past habits or routines. It can be used to describe actions that were habitual or routine in the past. For example, she always played with her dolls as a child. He used to go to the cinema every weekend. My dad often went fishing when he was younger. I usually read comics when I was a kid. So, how do we form the past simple? Most of the time, the past tense is formed simply by adding ed to the base form verb. Here's an example. Take the verb to dance. Simply add ed to the base form of the verb. Let's take some examples here. So, if you had the verb to dance, to turn it into the past simple, you would simply add ed. So for example, you could say, I danced at the party. If you had the verb to bake, you would add ed. You could then say, I baked a cake. And similarly, if you had the verb to work, you would simply add ed and you could say something like, I worked for 8 hours. Most of the time in English, most verbs are regular. But there are also irregular verbs. These are verbs that do not end with an ed. For example, if you have the verb to sit, in the past it becomes I sat. If you had the verb to read, in the past it becomes read. If you had the verb to take, the past becomes took. If you had the verb to make, the past becomes made. And if you had the verb to sing, the past would be sang. Let's take some sentences. I sat in the front row. I read for 1 hour yesterday. He took my phone. I made plans yesterday. I sang in the school choir. Now, you wouldn't say, I sitted in the front row. You wouldn't say, I read it for 1 hour yesterday. You wouldn't say, he taked my phone. You wouldn't say, I make it plans yesterday, which a lot of Brazilians say. And you wouldn't say, I singed yesterday. These would be incorrect in English. You must learn these irregular verbs. Learning irregular verbs can be a problem for non-native speakers of English, since there is no pattern. The best way to learn these is to basically expose yourself to as many irregular verbs as you can and practice them. I've listed 5 very common English verbs here. The 5 are, to be would become was. So you wouldn't say, I beed happy yesterday. You would say, I was happy yesterday. Similarly, to have, you wouldn't say, I had a great time. You would say, I had a great time. Similarly, with to go, you wouldn't say, I goed to the park. You would say, I went to the park. To see, you wouldn't say, I seed a movie yesterday. You would say, I saw a movie yesterday. To take, you wouldn't say, I taked a walk yesterday. You would say, I took a walk yesterday. Now this can be quite difficult, but I would suggest that you expose yourself to as many common irregular verbs as possible, and then practice them as much as you can in speaking and writing. Now if you wanted to turn the past simple into a negative form, simply use did not or its contraction didn't before the base form of the verb to form negative sentences. For example, he didn't play soccer last week. They didn't eat pizza for dinner yesterday. He didn't study for his exam last night. So that was a very short introduction to the past simple. I hope you found it helpful, and I just want to leave you with a question. What did you do yesterday? If you want to write your answers in the comment section, I'll be happy to check them over. Thank you for watching.